Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Rob Kim. I'm the LFS Career Strategist. That's for the Faculty of Land and Food Systems. So I basically support the undergrads in the faculty with all things career related. And so really happy that you're here to hear a little bit about how an LFS degree can help you with your own career. That's both, finding a job, finding a pathway in your career, but also recognizing how we're supporting you in that journey if and when you come to LFS. So again, my name is Rob Kim, and let's get started a little bit looking at that. Right. So I just want to, we're going to cover a bunch of things today, and hopefully something will kind of resonate with you. And we're going to talk about kind of three different ways that I think the Faculty of Land and Food Systems can really help you and set you up in your career. I want to acknowledge before we proceed that we're on the traditional and ancestral and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. I am here on campus today. It's a lovely, gorgeous sunny day. And I just want to acknowledge that, again, the Faculty of Land and Food Systems is committed to working with Indigenous communities and students alike, both in our curriculum and our research. So something I like to say in careers quite a bit is, you can't be what you can't see. And so I want all of you to think a little bit about that today. Again, you can't be what you can't see. And I think that's something that's really important for us because when we're thinking about some of the things that you're going to be involved with or some of the careers that you might be thinking of, these are some professions that have been around for a while. So you might be thinking about something like being a dietitian or a veterinarian, which are great pathways. But I think sometimes we don't know a lot of what's out there if you think about your circle and the information that you're getting. And one thing I like about being here at UBC is you get exposure and you get an opportunity to take experiences in order to see kind of, oh, what sort of jobs are out there? How did someone land there? And I'm really working with the students quite a bit to think about, hey, how do we make sure that we're not just thinking about careers in like a linear pathway, in a linear sense? Honestly, it's a little bit messier than sometimes we'd like to think about. And I really understand that, we want some certainty. Like we want to be like, hey, with this degree, I can get X, Y, Z job. And I get that. But I think a little bit of it is also understanding that, sometimes what you think you want to be in first year changes very rapidly. And that's okay. That there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's something that I have in a lot of conversations where people feel like, I don't know what I want to be yet. And I always respond like, that makes sense. That's okay. Like these are big kind of life decisions. I don't even know what I want to eat tomorrow morning. So sometimes that pressure of like knowing what we should want to do, 4 years, 5 years around, that puts a lot of pressure on us. But that still means we can still figure things out. So what I'm going to do here is there's a Google document there that Jason put into the chat there. So if you can join me here, we're going to use this document a little bit together. And I just want to walk you through a couple things. If you get disconnected, there is a link to rejoin. Again, there's my info, my contact info. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well if you're using LinkedIn. And I want to show the navigation here. If you click the left side here, there's a little document outline, right? And that's going to allow for you to kind of jump and navigate because I'm going to be going back and forth. And this is just a way just to keep you a little bit involved. Now, if you're on your phone today or something like that, don't fret. You'll be able to still, follow along on the screen and then maybe just, write on a piece of paper, that sort of thing. So let's go to our opening activity here. I'm going to ask you, when you see the green, that's an opportunity for you to type into the spaces there. And so again, don't worry if you're kind of jostling to find a spot there. And if you need to add a row, we can do that. So there's 2 questions. You can answer either one or just one, but I really want to push you today. I know you've had a long day for some of you joining us, maybe on the East Coast as well. What are you curious about when you think about food, nutrition, health, animals, sustainability, or agriculture? Or maybe what are some of your values, skills, or interests? We'd just like to get your brain going a little bit. Today, for this document, if you make a mistake or delete something, don't panic, just pause and then just hit undo We really appreciate that. And at the end of the session, you'll be able to make a copy for yourself because there's going to be a bunch of ideas in here, and I've put in some of the document that we'll be referring to as well. So yeah, go ahead, take a 10, 15 seconds just to write something. And then if you agree with someone, put a little +1 down. We'll keep a cumulative total. So you can put a +1, +2. Yes. And if you need that Google Doc, just ask us, or if you see someone asking, let us know. There's no wrong answers here, so don't be shy. It's all good. Just a quick kind of almost study tip. We know the research shows that when you're writing, especially when you're handwriting, but typing still decent. Anytime you're doing that and engaging with some new topic or in a session, that's a really great way to establish like really good neural pathways. So I know some of you might be still on the sidelines, and I'm really going to push you again. Don't hesitate. Just jot something down for now. I really appreciate all the contributions thus far. Give you a couple more seconds. So one thing I really feel privileged and fortunate to be able to work with LFS students. I find LFS students really are value driven. And look at these things. Like I love that, again, you're already thinking about like, how can we sustain the environment and humanity's needs? Like these are big questions, right? And I love seeing these passions that our students come in with and thinking about. Okay, we're even people are already talking about regenerative soil, food that's helped cure diseases, food that affects neurological functions. I'm getting a little bit of goosebumps, actually. I'm always very inspired by all of the students that I get in touch with in this faculty. And it's wonderful to see that a whole bunch of you have some curious ideas of some really big things, right? We're talking about human problems that are really important. And that's one thing in this faculty. We get to actually take applicable science, and we'll talk more about that. So this is just a way to get us going a little bit. And what I would like to ask you, one more thing now, would be to, give me a little bit of what are you hoping to learn about today? Now, this doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to address and answer these questions. I wish I could be, often in my career work, I wish I could just be like, yeah, if you just do this and this, you're going to get a job for sure. But I would like to see kind of where you're coming from, where we are in terms of our learning. You can pick either side, same question. And this will allow me to just make sure as I go through the rest of the session here to attend to some of the things that you're talking about. And if I don't get to some of it, I will stay around for a little bit afterwards and be able to try to help you with some of these specific questions. So again, put in there any sort of questions that you're hoping to do. If you want to, you can always use the chat function as well. And then I know Jason will be able to tell me if anything comes up there. So again, I'll give you about 30 seconds to share with me there. Yeah, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. We'll just run a cumulative total. Let's do that, something like that. All right, so not a ton of questions. That's okay. Let's and again, if you're adding there, we'll talk a little bit about this, and we'll feature some of the ways that you can find out some of the pathways that that could lead you into your career. All right, great. If you have any questions that do come up, again, just put them in the chat too, and we can look at that. So again, I really want all of you to consider this phrase like, you can't be what you can't see. That leads to one of my favorite career theories. And I know this sounds really weird, but there are career education theories out there. And one of my favorites is called the planned happenstance theory. And really what it talks about, it sounds very weird when you first hear it. It really talks about indecision is desirable and sensible. I'm going to say that again. Indecision is desirable and sensible, which is kind of counter to why a lot of us go into science. We're trying to, figure out our world. There's a lot of uncertainty. We want to be more certain. But this is actually saying indecision, desirable and sensible, because from that, you're going to be able to be part of opportunities or get opportunities that might, you're going to get them from unplanned events. And so what I really look at here, it doesn't mean that if you don't know what you want to do for your career, you're not sure what step to take. It means like you don't do anything. The planning part is, hey, in the present, what can you be a part of? What experiences can you be open to? What can you do? And then the happenstance part is that kind of luck, or something comes your way where you just happen to be the right person for that role at that time. So again, I really like the planned happenstance because I think a lot of people fall into their career. They're not necessarily doing the job that they thought, or are doing something that they imagined. I find that's a very common narrative, and I really like the planned happenstance. It's a reminder to me, like, it's okay if I don't know what's there in the future, but I'm still trying to do things right now, because 5 years from now, I can't anticipate where the technology is going, what the demands are, right? Like, if we even look at 10, 20 years ago, there was no iPhone, right? Imagine like there's this whole economy now around, smartphones, in one way to think about how it's changed the way we engage. So you can't sometimes plan for these future events, but you can certainly try to think about the skills you're building right now and identify potential new opportunities. So I want you to think about that plan happenstance as we kind of proceed through this session today. Okay. So again, I'm going to cover 3 ways an LFS degree supports your career. So again, LFS was the land and food systems. And so I think about flexibility, uniqueness, and community. We're going to cover again flexibility, uniqueness, and community. And I think at the end, I'll share some resources and take some questions as well. So let's jump right into it. For me, number 1, the LFS degree gives you massive flexibility to explore. Now, in your position, you know what you don't know. And so, you haven't, unless you've been to other universities or you attended or did another degree, you can't even compare. But one thing I can compare for you, I did my degree here at UBC in sciences. And when I see science versus LFS, I'm quite envious of the flexibility. And it happens in many ways. I think the flexibility actually starts in the courses, where you're able to match courses that align more with your values and strengths and interests. In first year, you're taking a lot of general courses, which is sometimes, it can be a challenge for our students, right? Where like, I'm not sure where I'm going to need chemistry or physics, but that foundational aspect is going to be very common. That flexibility also then allows you, that first year foundation is going to be a little bit different when you start going into second and third and fourth year. Now, for me in science, sometimes when I declared my major in second year, and sometimes when you're in the course, you can't anticipate, oh, maybe this is not a fit for me. And that happened. I wanted to go in biochemistry. It wasn't a fit for me. Sometimes it's hard to even change into different programs. Now, it doesn't mean it's easy to do that within LFS, but there is an ability to sometimes change from applied animal biology to, GRS to the SAGE program, the sustainable agriculture. Like, we can see people shifting where you have, again, the electives as well, that flexibility. Now, I know the electives thing idea is a little bit interesting and it might not be apparent to you, but again, for someone in sciences, sometimes you might have one elective each term. Some of our courses in some programs in third, fourth year, you're going to have a lot of elective choices. You'll have some base science ones, of course, but those elective choices allows for our students to explore many different other passions. We have people taking philosophy courses, business courses, or even just more food nutrition courses. So it allows you to explore, because sometimes it's like, I never knew about this topic. I never knew about this industry, and you can get that exposure through your courses. I think it also shows up in our interdisciplinary approaches, experiential learning, and, student involvement. So, I'm going to show you a couple things just to give you an idea of the multitude of ways you can explore here in LFS. And I think about online and in person. Okay. So again, online and in person. And what could that look like? Well, maybe, you're thinking about, okay, what are the resources and research that I can do, right? Again, you can't be what you can't see. And then we have lots of student events, workshops. LFS First is an example. The LFS mentorship program is a big one. And these are things that are within LFS that you don't necessarily get in some of the other faculties. So I'm going to show you just a couple quick resources here. And the first one being is, what can I do with my LFS degree? And this is just a nice way for you to explore some of the pages that you could do. So I'm going to show here. It looks like this, but it is embedded in the document here. Okay, so I want to just show that here. It's right here on page 15. So if you want to jump in the document outline, you can just do that there. And so I'm going to go through just a couple of these real quick, just to give you an idea. So what can I do with my land and food systems degree? What I like about this one here is it showcases just like kind of the broader overview of the program, right? Talks about the sort of story, the skills that you're doing that you're building that employers are looking for. It gives you a little glance of some of the UBC experiences that you can be involved with. These are like available to all UBC undergrads. Talks a little bit about research, about how you build your network, and then some toolkits. Where you might be really interested in is looking at our specialization, our program. So there's 8 of them here. So if I click food science, for instance, it will now take you to the degree in food sciences, where I'll talk a bit about the skills that you're building and some of the career pathways, right? So these are all based on the National Occupation Classification System, which is a Canadian system there. And this is just an idea of the sort of places that you can end up, sort of roles that you can end up working at. I also love looking at make the most of your major. Again, thinking about using experiences as ways to explore, and then also how you can build your network through associations, and then finally through LinkedIn. So notice you can hop back and forth and take a look at some of the degree programs, look for some overlap and look for some different things here. So again, you can look at the sustainable agriculture and environment. These are the programs that you'd be trying to declare to get into for your second year and sometimes even third year, like something like dietetics and even I think GRS, Global Resource Systems. So what I would also then highlight is, let's say we go to food, nutrition, health, and that's also the degree that's also the program. You can also use the LinkedIn alumni search, which is one of my favorite tools. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account, that's okay. You can set one up and you'd be amazed at what sort of research you can do. And so if you go to the University of British Columbia page, I'm going to just show you real quick here, and click the alumni tab, you can put in a bunch of different things in the filter. And it's a very keyword specific search. So you do have to play around with it. But remember, I told you you can't be what you can't see. So you could see people who are currently at UBC or have graduated, and you can get a sense of the sort of roles that they're falling into. Now, in one of the initial questions, right, someone asked, hey, what are the careers that you can get with, this degree? And honestly, sometimes I want to respond, but I wouldn't want to do that right away. Response like, well, anything. Like, we have evidence of students and alumni landing in a wide variety. Like, you can go from banking to tech to the healthcare. We have people getting into medicine, into vet school, so in professional programs and law. So there's lots of different pathways. What's tricky though is, so there's that flexibility component where I think sometimes our students can believe that they can go do these sort of things, but often that means sometimes you have to find certain experiences that mean part-time job, co-op, or whatever that is, and also be able to write and actually convince other people, especially when sometimes the degree doesn't match what they might be looking for stereotypically. But I do want to share with you that we have people ending up all over the place. So part of what I like about the alumni search, it's not necessarily seeing what they're doing, it's also understanding what they did to get there, right? So let's just go with someone here. Yeah, here's someone like, you're like, okay, they're working at Amazon. How did that happen? So I might click on their profile and I can see not just only like what they're doing, I might look at like, what did they do in between? So it's interesting. They did a Bachelor of Science and they did a Master of Science, but they did environmental science and management. yet they're doing like I guess that's workplace hazard safety specialist, and so they're able to land that role. This might be someone I reach out to just ask, like, how did you do that? I can also see that they were probably maybe even thinking about being a dietitian, but they obviously shifted, or they made a change or decided it wasn't the right fit. So this might be someone that I might reach out and connect to. So again, that's how I like using the research to leverage into exploring there. So that's, that can be done all online. I will also talk about our Instagram channels. These are great ways for you to kind of understand and follow. And so I'll talk a little bit more about even some of those resources. But I like to think about online exploring. Then it goes to, again, talking with people, and then finally experiences. And so when you look at, some of the experiences that you can be involved with, that's like with your own classmates, or like LFS First, where you talk to people who go to LFS First, they make some great friends. Jumpstart's an example of that. And we're really proud of our LFS mentorship program. That's something I'm involved with, two other staff members. We have approximately 200 students involved with around 100 mentors every year, roughly. Some years a little bit more, some less. And it's something that especially a lot of first years, second years quite enjoy, because it's a way to connect with other students, but also connect with alumni and just get some advice or insight that might not apply necessarily to you, but it can be very helpful. And in some ways, it's something that we really like doing. We actually get them students to practice informational interviews, which is a technique that a lot of people don't know. I didn't know that as a first-gen university student myself. And so we're also teaching you and getting you to test out how to talk to people, how to network, all things that I found very scary. We're trying to give you a safe place to experience and do this. And so the picture there you can see, that's a great example of, we have a nice alumni kind of event at the very beginning of the program where you get to meet and talk with other people. So these are some things that allow you to explore within LFS. Okay, let's talk about number 2. I really think LFS, the degree, is very unique, all right? And so we have something that's very unique, not to all faculties. We have the core series, that's LFS 100, 250, and 350. 250 and 350 are more project-based experiential learning courses, but those are things that you are taking with all LFS students. And what's kind of neat about that is, some of you are saying like, hey, I want to think about how we can be more sustainable, what we can do to help out the environment, et cetera. And really, when we think about that, it's like, hey, these are like the wicked problems of the world, and wicked problems, they need a multitude of solutions. And so the interdisciplinary approach is very important. And students always talk about it. It's really neat that they're in a class working with, people from food, nutrition, health, or food science. Like, you're all in it together, and that diversity of opinions, which can be challenging, right, everyone? But it's really, really helpful. And then we do a lot of experiential learning. So experiential learning is just a really academic fancy word where you're actually working on projects. So 350, you're working with a group and you're working with a community partner. Really cool. Sometimes it's nonprofits, it's different partners, and you're actually working on a problem that's being posed, and you're providing a solution. You go through that in this entire term. It's really cool. Again, very challenging. A lot of students, when you're in it, because you're working with people, which is the ultimate challenge, it can be hard. But from that, we know people are talking about, hey, this course gave me some reps of having some difficult conversations, help me be able to present better, help me to be able to listen better, all these sort of things that sometimes you're not going to get in some of your other courses. And so again, I think they're very unique and special. And I feel like it's something that's really great that you get, but you wouldn't know that unless you were in another faculty. So again, dealing with wicked problems, like we said, that's what we need you to do, right? And that's what you're hoping, desire to do. The uniqueness too, I'm biased, I'm going to speak it for my own role. You get a lot of embedded career supports. We're a very small faculty, but we are really saying that career is important, and LFS is really backing that up. We have a full-time dedicated specialist myself. I'm coming into your courses. I'm doing career advising and workshops, doing a lot of career program like LFS mentorship, and then also creating a lot of digital resources. And so, I work with LFS. I work in LFS student services, but I'm very involved at all levels where I get to be in the classrooms, working with profs, working with students, working with LFS US, and that sort of thing. So to me, it's something that we have unique here. Again, not all faculties have a dedicated career specialist. Forestry doesn't have one. Kin doesn't have one. And then, again, some of the other larger faculties will have them. Actually, science doesn't have a dedicated one either. So again, that's something that's a bit unique. Okay. All right, let's move to the next one. Finally, talking about the LFS degree in the communities. So I'm going to show you later on a little bit of like where that overlap is, but I really want to, for this one, I'm going to bring in Jason, who's on the call, because he is he's been involved in so many levels. And what I want to talk about the community here is learning from the community and also being in these different communities. That's going to help your career, right? It's going to give you some skills. And so I've listed a lot of different things here, but what I think is really neat about being an LFS, there's LFS specific things that are for just you, yet you can still access all the other UBC community things. And I think Jason's a perfect example of someone who's leveraged that. So Jason, I'm going to get you on the call here.
Hi, Rob. How are you doing?
Good. All right. And Jason, maybe you can do a quick intro to everyone here.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see some of you coming back from the previous LFS Welcome You sessions. My name is Jason. I'm currently a fourth-year student studying in the Global Resource Systems program. I've been in LFS ever since my first year. I started off in AppBuy, and then I found different experiential programs, which led me into GRS. Within my studies currently, I focus on sustainable business. And so I'm able to take courses not only in LFS, but also in the Sauder School of Business and integrate other courses across the university to support businesses and food businesses specifically towards a more sustainable and greener economy. So yeah, happy to be here today.
So before we proceed, because I know a little bit about Jason's story, I want to share all of you. I'm not saying you need to do it Jason's way, because I think Jason is a representative of someone who's super involved. So I don't need you to be like, oh my goodness, I got to do it at that level. But what I hope you're more taking away is what I can see consistently with Jason is the courage he takes to put himself out there, to try new things. And a good example of like, listen, I wish that most of you, your degree would align with your job. Like, that's great. But the reality is that doesn't happen. And that doesn't mean that it devalues your degree. There's lots that you can learn from being a university student. But sometimes part of it is like taking the degree and all the other experiences around that, and that might allow you to pivot. Because Jason, what did you want to be when you first came in? What was your first idea?
Yeah, in high school, I did a lot of volunteering with my city, so my municipal government. And so I always thought coming in, I wanted to do the sustainable agricultural program and learn about, sustainability, the environment, and possibly pursue a degree in government and like a career in government in the future. But then in my first year, I did a lot of different events. Like I took part in the LFS mentorship program. I competed in my first case competition with a few friends in Sauder, and I kind of learned that there's actually more things I can do with my LFS degree. I can actually support businesses and specifically food businesses in a lot of those areas. And so starting my second year, when I found the GRS program, entered the GRS program, I was like, okay, maybe I like the government. I still like, I'm interested in working with the government, but I'm actually a lot more interested in working in business and working in helping food businesses. And so that's kind of how I got to switch between my second year.
And part of it, it's really tricky, right, Jason, in first year, because I think when I think about myself in first year, it's like, okay, I got to get good grades. I got to just study, which I get. That is very important. I'm not going to overstate that. But I think sometimes the tendency is like, let's pour just everything into studying. What have you found, or in terms of like that balance of like, like also not being too involved though either? Like what's
Yeah.
What have you learned from that yourself?
I actually found that being involved actually helped me with my studies. The reason why I say that is during my first year, because I joined the mentorship program, because I joined LFS First, which is the first year camp, orientation camp, and I joined LFS US, which is kind of like the student council of LFS students. I was able to meet a lot of first year students, learn about their passions, learn about what they're interested in studying, and also I was able to make friends in some of the classes that I had other LFS students in. So we were able to support each other with our studies. I found my own study buddies. If I wasn't that good in a subject, for example, math, I'm really bad at math. I was able to have some help from other students that were able to support me. But in other courses like chemistry, when I was a little bit more experienced, I was also able to help and make friends and find a community in that way. And so I definitely think that if you were just to go to UBC, attend class, and that's it, it's going to be very difficult for you because there's so many of these other experiences that you'd be missing out on if you're not, going to these events or putting yourself out there to meet someone new. I think that has actually taught me a lot outside of my studies.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I actually, we know the research shows that when you're involved, you actually do better academic, which sounds counter, but I always like to remind people like, hey, your brain is like an invisible muscle, right? And so like, you wouldn't just like work out all day long if you have a competition coming up, like in terms of like an athletic endeavor, or if you're doing music, you wouldn't just like, I'm going to just play piano 15 hours. Like you need balance, right? And that's the same thing with academics. I also want to make sure everyone listening, like there's going to be some of you that all you can do is actually come to class, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's what I do again, like about LFS, and this is where I think about equitable career development. I know that, we purposely make the LFS mentorship very manageable, right? That's an experience where you're dedicated, but you're not having to do all your time. And we deliver some of this career education in your courses as well, make those connections, because we know that some of you are going to have to work part-time. Some of you are going to have longer commutes, right? So we are consistently we are trying to look for other ways to support you. And that's what I really like about LFS. There's like deep involvement, short involvement, depending on what you need and where you're at, or when you're ready too. Like for myself, I didn't get involved until my third year. Jason, real quick, let's just cover some of the things that you do. I know you were the LFS US president, so the undergrad society president. I think you worked in UBC residence life, right? So you're a residence advisor during the school year. I know you've done a couple stints at Deloitte now. Is that correct, in the summer? Right.
Yeah, so I
So
did, yes, during my degree, I also did internships as well. So
mhm.
students, I was able to find my own internships, but a lot of other LFS students, some of my friends, they decided to do the co-op program where you get to actually go into a lot of businesses locally. And so, yeah, I personally was able to find my own, but I also really heard really great things about the co-op program as well.
Yeah. So again, and then Jason's also done something like the UBC Work Learn. So there's UBC Work Learn is one of my favorite. Like again, co-op is great, but it's not for everyone. Where again, you have to dedicate 3-4 work terms. Of course, really helpful for your graduation, and it's a really great way of getting professional skills and understanding more of what you don't want. But I love the UBC Work Learn. Jason's doing that right now. That's September to April, 10 hours a week max. So you can still be a full-time student, still make good money. The hourly wages are a little bit higher. And we have our LFS students all over the place, right? Whether it's research, it's on-campus roles, I should say, whether it's research, or in Jason's case, working with LFS student services. We have people working with, comms. That's a great way that people have found, a career as well. And so you can combo that with some volunteer and these sort of things. He talked about the case study. So again, I wanted to bring Jason on here because I think probably looking at this community picture here, right? You probably have done most of them or been involved in a lot of them. And so again, I would say Jason's one of the ones that has done a lot more. So I'm not trying to get all of it. Oh my goodness, I got to do all of this. That's not what we're saying here. But we're looking at like, hey, how can I leverage a little bit of the services and experiences that are built at UBC and LFS along with my degree, right? And again, Maybe one last thing, that difference, like you've taken 250, 350. I think it's hard for people to conceptualize, especially the differences between faculties. Like, what's the one? Give us one last thing. Like, what's the one takeaway for you of being in an experiential course where you're working with other people? That's not easy, right? Like, I'm sure there was like lots of tension, challenge, because grades are involved too. But maybe can you share with the group of like how you've seen that's valuable when other faculties don't necessarily have that?
Yeah, I think you're not only working with LFS students, you're working with a community partner. So for courses like LFS 250 and LFS 350, you actually get to visualize something and do research on something that's actually happening in real life. So for example, for me, I was assigned to work with the city of Vancouver to do some research on induction stoves. So a little bit doing an environmental analysis on if induction stoves are more environmentally friendly to gas stoves and how we can better promote it to the switch to a lot of people living in Vancouver. And so I was able to do a lot of community work, doing interviews with community members, but working with the city and going behind the scene aspect. So it's kind of like co-op in a course where you're actually helping a business or helping an organization and being able to gain those skills outside of school, like project management, communications, presentations, being able to create slide decks or create a report that's visually appealing to the public. Those are things that not other faculties get to kind of explore. And so that's why I really like the course series. And it has helped me not only when I landed my first job, I was able to apply those skills that I learned from the class within my own career, which was super helpful.
Yeah, thank you for that. And again, we have some students. I was talking to the professor of 350, Will Valley, and he was saying like there's a group at the beginning of the term, they were just like not happy with the project that they had. That happens. And he said by the end, because they get exposed to some new community, right? New perspectives, like that's growth, right? And they're just like, this was amazing, right? And it's not always going to be that for everyone, but I find that our alumni who've gone through it will talk about how that gave them one rep that was so important, or courage, or they could see these things. And that's why I think the course series to me is about community. We're here at UBC, but you're actually working with people in Vancouver. It's very powerful when you start seeing that, right? Is there one last thing you might want to share that kind of hits upon what we're talking about, the uniqueness, the flexibility, and the community here, Jason?
Yeah, I think if I can give any advice, is just university is a journey, not a destination. And so I think just put yourself out there, explore. If there's something that you're interested in, definitely try it out. And there's no right or wrong decision. So just to do what your heart desires, and you'll definitely get a lot from what LFS has to offer.
What I appreciate for Jason's own journey is, he told me earlier, he's a first gen university student, which resonated with me. And he just said, I know I need to build my network. I know I need to get involved. I don't have maybe sometimes some of the opportunities that other people have if they know somebody. And he went out and he had the courage to do that. It takes a lot of courage to do what he's done. And it's going to take a lot of courage for you to do that. But I'm telling you, LFS is a place where we're going to help you. We're going to support you. You're going to find people that is going to help you as well. And to me, it's like, again, a small faculty. It's quite amazing, the community that you have. That's, again, the LFS Student Services, but to even our undergrad society. I think we have a lot of great collaborations all across the board. The professors, like, it goes on and on. I really feel that. I feel very fortunate to be working here as well. And so just want to, again, thank Jason for sharing with us. I think it's really great to hear from you. And again, hopefully, if you want to, I know Jason would be more than happy to probably, for you to reach out with any of these questions. But I think it's important, like, Jason's done all these things. So as a student, you'd be like seeing these results. We don't see the process. We don't see the failures he had, the challenges he had, but also he just kept on putting himself out there for these different experiences, right? All right. Great. Thanks, Jason. All right. So one thing I want to go over is, sorry. what's going on here. Oh, I know why. Okay, so I want to just show you again the community idea here. So flip down to here. I talked a little bit about the experiential learning. I think it's really cool. Again, I want to be a little bit more explicit for the uniqueness, right? You're dealing with the real world wicked problems. We talked about LFS mentorship, but we even have like, it's a very values-driven, science-based program. I think about employability, and everyone, we were talking about, people are talking about AI a lot, for instance. To me, this faculty is about developing human skills, right? Some people call them soft skills, communication skills, collaboration skills, system-based approaches. These are employable skills. These are the things that are going to be very hard for AI to kind of stomp out. It allows our alumni to potentially see different pivots that I know that when I was in science, like if I was like in biochem, be very hard for me to believe I could do something else. Whereas again, a lot of our students think, hey, that is a very similar thing to what I'm doing, or I'm going to use some of my values to bring my systems-based approach into the work or into this role. And I think it helps with the employability when the job market can change. We have the UBC Farm, the Dairy Center, the UBC Wine Research Center. And I'm just sharing here, like, again, what people are kind of saying in 250, like we do at the end. I come in and we talk about something they're proud about accomplishing. And this is, again, career supports where, this is an example of many of the great students I get to support, where I get to support them right from first year to fourth year. And I get to see that development, and they get to see messaging over and over, where they get exposed to resume, cover letter, approaches to managing up. And I know that is something that's been very helpful. When we talk about the community again, here is a neat way to think about it, everyone. Okay. On the left side and in the gray, those are things available to any UBC student. Okay. So every UBC undergrad is going to have Jumpstart. If you're a first year commuter, Collegia, Imagine, UBC Co-op, UBC Work Learn, right? Those are common ones. The UBC Career Center, the UBC Center for Student Development and Leadership. There are a ton of supports, AMS student clubs, like etc. Right? In LFS, what I really think about the community, and it goes back to experiences, I think there's more opportunities as well because of all the different things that and supports that we've built into the faculty. Some of you will have in first year in the summer, you get this access to this Canvas course, an online course, which is called Reach Out Orientation, Transition, and Study Skills. And it's a wonderful way to learn a little bit about UBC and how to learn, right? And it's such a great thing that you get early. You get access to that, I believe, in July. I think I want to say, Shannon's going to be mad at me for not having the right date. But it's wonderful. And it's been very helpful, actually, to the point that second year students are like, where's our second year roots? And we're like, there is none. And, Jason mentioned LFS First. That's a camp that kind of happens mid-September-ish. LFS Mentorship Program, the LFS Core Series, LFS US. We have the LFS ACE team, the lovely LFS Wednesday night dinners. You talk about community. Every Wednesday night, we have affordable dinners that's run by the LFS US, really cool menus. Jason, I think is what, $5 or something like that, right? UBC Farm, Agora Cafe is one of the only student-led cafes on campus. So many volunteers that help to run this. LFS Student Services, and then we have student clubs like the UBC Food Science Club, the UBC Dietetics Student Community. So you can see that when you think about all the community aspects, look at all the different things that the LFS student gets along with the UBC student. All right. So to kind of wrap things up here, why LFS? I really think it comes to increased opportunities to feel safe, to belong, like belonging, feeling seen and heard. Again, I think about our LFS student services, our academic advisors, they know you. The profs can know your names because the course in third and fourth year, they are very kind of manageable. I think LFS, the degree gives you courage to experiment, to explore, to be curious. And that's in terms of like the skills you're developing, the industries that you could be a part of. And I think honestly, it gives you an opportunity to see more of what you can be, right? Whether that's through your courses, hybridizing your career, gaining human skills, pivoting with the job market. I really believe these are the things that can happen. So let's wrap up here with a little bit of this idea of a tale of two cities here, everyone. So student A, right, could be like someone who's done a part-time job and really studied and focused on their degree, got some really high grades, right? And that's going to be pretty good. And that's something that's typical of like, okay, I really want to do well in my grades and academics. Okay. Whereas maybe student B, okay. So student B, if we look at what they have maybe 2 work learn positions, they have 2 full-time summer jobs, they have a degree with some courses that actually have things about teamwork, working in community. Maybe they have 3 volunteer experiences over their 4 years. And maybe they've also had mentorship opportunities where they talk to people, they've had career education, they've got some insight on how to write better resumes, etc. You can look at the tale of two, students here. And this is what happens often when students come to me in 4th year, okay? And in 4th year, they might still not know what they want to do for their career. That's okay, but they're thinking about their job prospects and they're writing nothing about, I want to get a job. I can work with a student and try to help build out the resume and these sort of things. But when there's only a degree and not a lot of experiences, you can see it's really hard to be employable. There's not many employers that are asking for grades. Yes, grades are important for professional programs. They're important for other master's programs, right? These sort of things. But, it's very rare for someone to say, hey, what's your grade? The degree, they can see the degree, they can see your experiences, your paid experience, your volunteer experience. You can see collectively, this is where someone like, again, I'll use Jason, for example, where he's got a ton of these things on, and then I can work with the resume to make it customized and targeted for maybe some of the different industries that he's thinking about now. So I really want to share with you that to me, UBC is, yes, it's all about academics and learning, but it's also about using the ecosystem of experiences that are here, both with UBC and LFS, which is why I'm so passionate about this place, because it really helped me when I finally wanted to get involved in 3rd year, right? And I got a couple jobs that were really instrumental in leading me into a career pathway that I never actually thought I wanted to do. All right. So wrapping up here, LFS provides a lot of opportunities for you to fly and build human skills. I think about our alumni landing in many different places. I just had a couple here. We had Didi last year. She's now a Rhodes Scholar. Pretty cool. Sadia is a dietitian. She runs a YouTube channel called Pickup Limes. I don't know if you follow it. It's awesome. She's got 4 million followers where she's talking about, vegan and health, and it's just amazing, right? One thing I do want to share, it's a little project I worked on with my work learn student. It's these profiles, and we use the meme of how it started, how it's going. And I hope you can click on this and take a look at people, like what they thought they wanted to be in 1st year rarely matches with what they're doing right now. And so we have about 8 profiles up here, and I think it's really interesting for you to see like how did they get there, and they're going to talk about similar things that they got out of their LFS degree. And I want to actually say you might want to even listen to so we have a podcast. I run it here in LFS. It's called Career Carrots, and I really like these 2 episodes, Mariel and Marissa's. I mean, listen to more if you want, of course, but I really like Mariel's because she talks about how she pivoted from her F&H degree. She's working now in like social media marketing, but she talked about how she was able to land a job immediately after graduation, which is not easy sometimes with an undergraduate degree. I really like Marissa's episode because she talks about how a work learn position ended up allowing her to understand this new role that she never thought about. And she's working now at BC Children's Hospital as a research project manager. So it's really neat. So I hope that this session allows you to see more of what you could be. But again, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you to really actually go out there, do the research, but also put yourself out there. Go to that networking event, maybe go to that career fair, join that club, join that organization that, you might feel like, oh, I don't know if that's right for me. I don't know if I can do that. Those actions that you can take, those experiences that you're going to build along with your degree, that's going to make you employable. All right. All right. If you can help me out as we wrap up here, and again, sorry for a little bit of the Zoom LinkedIn kerfuffle today. Can you just put in the chat there, in the document, what was one takeaway from today's session? Everyone, here's a study tip. I used to teach a lot of study skills. This simple question is such a good thing for you to incorporate in any lecture or when you're at the end of a session. We know the research shows it creates stronger neural pathways. It helps retain things a little bit. Just a simple question. What was one takeaway from today's session? So if you can put that in there, and that would be the last thing. And then there's a bunch of resources here if you want to take a look at them, especially this link tree here. And again, my name is Rob Kim. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. I'm writing there probably once to 2 times a week. Happy to connect with you there, or you can send me an email. I really hope that if you're still considering LFS, that we get to see you in August, September. I hope we get to cross paths, whether it's on Zoom or in person.